Now that you guys have looked at a couple different cities to see just how different and the price and cost of living is from city to city, and you should have researched up to 5 homes, hopefully from different spots, so you can really see how very similar homes in Denver will cost very different if you live in San Francisco or where I'm from in Hendersonville, North Carolina, or in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Prices of the same type of size home will be very different depending on your location. Your location pretty much determines most of the price of your house. So once you've found a couple on your 5 houses for the project and you've gotten the square footage, which is literally just like how big your house is, the price, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and any other features you might want to remember. This house that I found over in Wheat Ridge has a nice little yard and a garage, and this is the one that I'm using. But right here, guys, is the price, 3BD, that stands for bed, BA stands for bath, and then that's your square footage. So most of what you guys need is literally right there. So when we come back here, we are now going to take this and you're going to do a breakdown of how expensive that home loan, which is a mortgage. A mortgage is just a fancy way to say a home loan. So I'm going to take the total price of my house, $405,000, and I'm going to bring that down here. The price of the home is $405,000, and I'm going to type that at the top of both of these. Now, for those of you that did my car loan unit, you guys hopefully remembered the most common loan terms. Loan term, meaning how long do you have to pay the bank back for borrowing all that money, was usually 36 months, 48 months, and 60 months. 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years. And you can go a little bit shorter or longer than that, but you just have to talk with the dealership. When you go to the bank to get a loan for a house, you pretty much are only going to be given 2 options. You're either going to pick a 15-year mortgage where you have 15 years to pay back the bank, or you're going to pick a 30-year mortgage where you have 30 years to pay back the bank. Now, in this example, the price of the home does not change if you choose 15 or 30 years. What will change is what comes below, how much your monthly payment is going to be, and how much total interest you're going to end up paying to the bank. Remember, guys, interest are the fees that the bank charges you for borrowing all this money. So a down payment for a house is even more important than a down payment for a car. Because usually when you go and buy a car from a car dealership, you're not competing against other people to buy that car that you're looking to buy. But when you're looking to buy a house, buying a house can be very competitive depending on where you live. So your down payment, how much money you show up with the day you want to buy the house, all saved up in your bank account, could make you a more attractive buyer than other people, and a seller might choose you instead of others. So you really need to try to save around 15% or more for your down payment. So we're going to calculate 15% of our total price. So you guys can get whatever calculator you guys have been using throughout this year. I like good old Desmos. And if you go to Math Tools, the 4-function calculator should be totally fine for what we need today. So I'm going to take the total price of the house, $405,000. You guys will be using whatever your numbers are, times 0.15, because that is 15% as a decimal. And so my 15% down payment would be $60,750. $60,750. And that number is going to be the same for both the 15-year and the 30-year loan example. So far, the price of the home has been the same. Your down payment has been the same. And the amount that you need to borrow from the bank will also be the same. Just as a reminder, the down payment, that $60,750, that means that you have that saved up in your bank account, and you write a check and you show up with that check to give to the person selling the house. So since you've already saved up that money and you've given it to the seller, you don't have to borrow that from the bank. So we're going to take how expensive the home is, $405,000. And we are going to subtract the down payment because you already saved up that much. You don't need to borrow that from the bank. So we're going to take the price of the home minus the down payment, and whatever is left, that's how much money you are asking to borrow from the bank, and they will charge you interest for borrowing that money. So $344,250. Like I said, that number is going to be the same for both my 15 and my 30-year example. Those are going to be completely the same. So your first 3 rows, the price of the house, your 15% down payment, and then you subtract those 2 numbers, and then this is actually how much money we need to go get from the bank. And then I gave you the current interest rates that you would be looking at with an average credit score. For the shorter loan term, you get a slightly better interest rate. If you choose 30 years, they do charge you a higher interest rate. So now we're going to take all of this information and we're going to click right up here and go to the mortgage calculator. And it's going to help us check our work a little bit. So the first thing you need before we go over there is grab the price of the home, $405,000. Make sure you're using whatever house you are going to work with. And we're going to click over here and change that to whatever house you found. 405,000. All right. For down payment, type in the 15% that you got, whatever you got at when you did that. And if you did it correctly, it'll come out to 15%. So you can double check your work. If you type in your down payment amount and got something other than 15, we need to recheck our work to make sure that that is looking good. For this first example, we're going to do the 15-year loan. And we are going to use this 3.7 interest rate. So making sure that it's a little bit higher than what it has there. And voila, it will give us our estimated monthly payment of $2,804. So I'm going to go over and type that under here, 2,000. So if I got this house and decided that I wanted to pay it back in 15 years, I would owe $2,804 every single month for 15 years to the bank. And that includes the interest that the bank is charging you. Now I noticed that the mortgage calculator did not make it easy for us to see how much total interest the bank charged to us over time. So we're going to have to do a little bit more math, which is totally fine. That's why we're here, to get the total interest that the bank did charge us on top of the price of the home, so we can get an idea of how much you are totally paying for that house. Because when you get a loan, you end up paying more than just the price of the home because of those interest fees that the bank is making off of you. So in order to do this, since the mortgage calculator didn't spit it out for us, we're going to take our monthly payment, $2,804. And for this one, we are going to multiply that times how many years, but this is monthly payment. So we also are going to have to multiply by how many months are in a year. So we're going to multiply this times 15 years times 12 months in a year. So over here, we're going to go times 15 years, and there are 12 months in every single year. So the total cost of the house, after all is said and done, is going to be $504,720. 504,720. So that's a nice little shortcut you can use, is you can take how much your monthly payment is times that many years times 12, since there are 12 months in every year. So boom, that's how much you're actually going to have paid for the house over 15 years. So in order for you to figure out how much total interest that you paid to the bank on top of the price of the house, we're going to take that total minus the actual price. So we're going to take that total of $504,720, and I'm going to subtract that from the original price of the home, $405,000. And that is how much money the bank made off of me. $99,720, which is huge numbers. You're going to notice all of these numbers are way bigger than our car loan example, where the total interest that the bank was making off of you was usually somewhere around 3, 4, 5,000. But when we talk about houses and everything is this much more expensive for way more amount of time, the bank makes a lot more money off of you. So now we're going to do that same thing, but for the 30-year example, using the same information, but changing the interest rate and the 30 years. So when I go back here, I'm going to keep the price of the home the same, the down payment the same. We're going to push that to 30 years. And we're going to grab that other interest rate, 4.3. And we will see a different monthly payment, $2,013. $2,013. So you'll notice, even though we were charged a higher interest rate, since this gives you 15 more years to pay back your loan, you do have a lower monthly payment. So you save $800 a month, which you could then spend on groceries or a car payment or whatever else you might need in your life that you have to pay for every month. So even though you do save money every month, you're going to pay a lot more for that house over time. So let's take a look. So in order to get the total interest paid and how much total you paid for that house to the bank, we're going to take that monthly payment times the number of years of that loan times 12, because there's 12 months in every year. So we're going to take that 2013 times, this is my 30-year loan example, times 12 months in every year. It's going to be $724,680. $724,680. So you're going to notice, even though you were saving $800 a month by going to 30 years to pay it back, over that 30 years, you're going to have paid back the bank $724,680 compared to, boom, the $504,000 of the 15-year example. So you're going to pay almost $220,000 more dollars by going from 15 to 30 years, but you have a lower monthly payment. So just like the car loans, you have to decide what makes most sense for your budget. And to get how much total interest you ended up paying to the bank, we're going to take the total that you paid minus that price. So we'll take that total you paid minus the original price to see how much money the bank made off of you. So in this case, they made $319,680. They made way more money off of you over those 30 years, but you got to pay less per month for the house. So like I said, if you can afford it, it's usually better to try to pick the shorter loan terms. But when I bought my house 5 years ago, I couldn't afford the monthly payment that came with a 15-year loan. So I had to choose the 30-year loan, so I had a lower monthly payment, knowing I'd be paying way more for that house by choosing the 30 years. So now you guys have a little bit of a picture. This is the same exact house, but by choosing a different loan, how much you pay per month in total for the house is very different over time. So you guys are going to do that breakdown for all 5 houses that you found. And my hope is that you are done with that by the end of tomorrow. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll wrap up to see if you, depending on what type of jobs, can you afford that house. But your focus for today and tomorrow is to do this breakdown for all 5 homes.